Hey everybody, what's going on? This is the ultimate beginner's guide for King Arthur Legends Rise. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to get started in this game and progress smoothly and hopefully avoid any big mistakes as you go. And there is a lot to talk about, so we're just going to go ahead and jump straight into it. The first piece of advice that I want to give you is to come into the Knights training camp as soon as you can and go through it and really pay attention to it. Even if you've played these kinds of games before, there are some different things going on in this game, some different mechanics and different things to understand. This does a pretty good job of introducing you to everything and getting you familiar with it. And then intermediate training does a really good job of putting you in some tricky situations, almost giving you puzzles to solve in the way of battle scenarios. So it's really good. It's one of the better systems like this I've seen in a game where it actually really makes you think about the systems and mechanics in the game and work with them. So I'd recommend coming in here and messing with it. The final test is pretty tough. If you get to a point where you can't figure it out or you're just tired of trying, I do have a guide for it. So I will link that below. So you can just reference that and get through it fairly easily. Once you solve the problem, it's easy, but solving the problem is kind of tough. So there'll be a video linked below if you need it. Moving right along, let's talk about champs that you can invest in comfortably, right? That's one of the big things in these games is worrying about where your resources are going. So let me give you a few champs early on that you can invest in with a totally clear conscience. Kay is a damage dealing rare. You can max her with a clear conscience. She is fantastic. I use her in almost every team I run in this game right now. Arthur is another one you'll get straight out of the gate. He can also bang. They're both easy investments. Another one is Anguish. I think you'll get a copy of him at like day 13 on the login calendar. If you get a copy sooner, great. Go ahead and start investing in him. He does great dot damage, and that'll be pretty necessary in a few key parts of the game. So Anguish, Kay, and Arthur are all well worthwhile investments. As far as support champs go, if you pull a Sarah, a Clementine, or an Isolde, you can max them all, again, with a clear conscience. They're all fantastic. In order of best to worst, and I use the term worst very loosely, I would say it's Sarah, then Clementine, then Isolde, but she's still worth maxing because she does a few unique things that the other two don't. She's got some dot damage and some cool stuff going on. They're all fantastic. I do have a full-blown video dedicated to Clementine. If you want to check that out, I will also link that down below. But if you pull a Sarah, she probably should go ahead of everyone else. I just finally pulled one, so I'm in the process of maxing her now. She's really, really good, okay? And then one last one that I'll mention, obviously any legendary you get, you can invest in. I'm talking about non-legendaries. Jarrett is an uncommon that you can invest in with a pretty clean conscience. He does fantastic dot removal, and in Gorgos in particular, he's going to be very, very handy. There are 10 stages currently, and I'm on stage 8, and he's on my stage 8 team. I see no reason he won't be on my stage 10 team when I get there, okay? He is so cool. And that's one of the really nice things about this game is that pretty much every rare I think we've all looked at, we see tons of utility for, and a lot of the uncommons are very usable. So don't sleep on champs just because they're uncommons or rares. They're really, really good, okay? So that's a handful of champs you can start investing in early without worrying about whether or not you're burning your resources. Now, let's move on to talking about ways to develop your champions, right? What kinds of resources are you using? Where are you getting them? And how are you developing your champs? If we're on the info tab, we'll just go across the line here. You've got Chivalry, which is the dupe system in the game. So you can either use dupes of a champ or these tokens that you'll obtain through different progression rewards and milestones and things of that nature, okay? So you can see for an uncommon, it takes 3 copies. So every time I get 3 copies of Jarrett, I can come in here and progress his Chivalry. For rares, it's 2 copies, and for legendaries, it's 1. And you can click through all the different stages and see what each level is going to do for you as you go. And this is a pretty good system. It's pretty important. You get some pretty powerful stuff here. You see my K is at 8 Chivalry right now. So the first one tends to be some sort of skill modifier. Then it'll be a random assortment of stat bumps, right? Base stat bumps, skill modifiers. Sometimes skills change completely. For example, I think Clementine gets, her Future of Dreams gets changed to a whole different skill. So it's a pretty cool system, and it'll be a while before you max it out. So I think it's a solid dupe system, and I like that there's an alternative in these tokens that you can acquire as you go through the game. So that's one of them. If we go back to the info tab, skill level up. Now, these are kind of hard to acquire, so it'll be a little bit before you need to worry about this. Champions have 2 different types of skills, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But for now, these are the skills on the info tab, and you can skill these up. So like she's got Made You Smile, it does this, and if it gets a skill up, the passive cooldown time gets reduced, and then so on, right? Moving right along, we have Awaken. That's these purple stars. As you awaken your champs, you're going to unlock more gear slots, as well as base stat increases and things like that. If at any point you need to progress someone and you don't have the resources to do it, all you got to do is click the resource and it'll tell you where to go to get it. And then you can click this arrow and go straight to the stage that has whatever it is you're looking for. So be sure you're utilizing that. There are a lot of different resources in this game to develop your champs, and it can be kind of a lot to try to keep up with early on. So just use this. If you're trying to awaken somebody and you need these, you can click here and figure out where to go get them, okay? And we'll talk more about that as we go. But again, that's awakening. And then you have advancing, which is increasing their star rating. So she's at 6 star, which means she's max. But like if I wanted to bring her up, then this tells me what I need to do it. And then again, I can click this and it tells me where I can get them. And then I can go straight to whatever stage I think I can farm to go grab more of these. All right. And then same across these. Fairy stones you can get from the campaign. Perfect fairy stones also come from the campaign, so on and so on. All right. So that, and then not to mention, of course, leveling up, which is going to require gold and these experience potions, and you'll take them to their max level for their rank, advance them to the next rank, then level them up again. All right. That's the ways to develop your champs. Now let's talk about relics, because relics are where your actual active skills come from. Every champ has these skills on the info tab, and these are passive skills, right? These are always going to be passive skills, or like some sort of modifier attached to an active skill. The relics tab is where you'll see what your champ does actively, what skills you're going to be actively using. So it's good to be familiar with both, because again, a lot of the times those passive affect these skills in some way. But this is where you'll see like attacks an enemy so many times, places this kind of debuff, etc. These skills come from relics. Every champ has a flame relic, an ice relic, and a storm relic. And if you notice as I click through them, her skills change. So once you acquire this relic, you've got it forever, and you can switch them out as needed for whatever content it is that you want to use them for. And you get the relics through a few different ways, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Generally, when you summon a champ, you're going to summon them with one of their relics, right? And then it's up to you to obtain the other relics through different means. So this is where your active skills are going to be. And relics have their own power-up systems. So much like your champions, you can come in here and level up your relics, advance your relics, awaken your relics, and then level up the skills on your relics as well. Again, all with their own set of resources that you can also click and go specifically farm as needed, okay? So lots of resources necessary in this game. You don't have to keep up with where they all come from though. Again, you can just click whatever, click the stage and go to it and farm it. So that's the way that works. This also dictates what element they are. So if she's got a flame relic equipped, she's a flame champion, so that the affinity system will treat her as a flame champion. If we switch her to her ice relic, the affinity system treats her as an ice champ, okay? So you can change a champ's element, so nobody's ever weak everywhere. You know what I mean? You can change them to make them have advantage or whatever, you know, if the trade-off is good for their skills that they get or whatever it is, whatever you decide works for you. So a lot to take in, but it's really not so bad. If you just click what you need and go farm it when you need it, it'll all start to click as you go on. Let's talk about some things associated with battles in this game. I've removed my camera from this to make sure that I'm not covering anything important up, but there are some very important things to understand about battles in this game. So let's jump into a dungeon and talk about them. One thing to note is that you do not lose energy for failing or leaving a stage. So don't ever be afraid to try to push the next stage. There is literally no consequence for failing a run anywhere in this game except a little bit of wasted time, right? So don't ever be afraid to push the next stage. Maybe you can clear something you don't know you can clear, and it would be a shame to not do it because you're worried about wasting energy. So you'll see we have 232. At the end of this, we'll back out, and you will see that we'll still have 232, okay? So let me turn off auto. Some stuff to be aware of in the battle screen. First of all, if you have it on 1, which is going to be on by default, the camera up here, the camera's going to jump around a lot, and it can be kind of annoying. If you don't like that, just put it on 2, and it'll lock into this mode, and this is what it'll always look like. And it's just a little bit easier to manage and all that. You can also click enemy portraits. So like if you're trying to target a Tusk, and you're a little worried about he's moving his head around or whatever, you can just click a skill and then click the portrait to target whatever you want to target, okay? Now, over here you have your turn order that will only be changed if turn meter manipulation gets introduced, right? So if you do, right now it's all my team, but if he was here before Tristan, and I could manipulate his turn meter and knock it back, then Tristan would bump up the next time it adjusted, okay? You can also cycle through here and see kind of a different idea of what's going on, but I tend to like seeing the turn order. Now, as far as actual battle mechanics, you have this meter right here. This is called Vigor. This is your team's energy for their skills. And everybody's got the 3 skills, which are 1, 2, and 3. The 2 always cost 2 Vigor. The 3 always cost 3 Vigor. The 1 adds 1 Vigor. It's a Vigor charge. So at the beginning of each one of your character's turns, you're going to get 1 Vigor. If you use their A1, you'll get another one, okay? So this is very important to be mindful of in conjunction with the order of turns, because you need to make sure that you're setting champs that are doing key things up to do those key things. I know that if I need Clementine's heal, I need to make sure that on the beginning of her turn, we have at least 1 Vigor so that she can charge to the second Vigor and then use her heal. So really quickly, let's see what this looks like in action. We'll use Kay's A3. We can see it's going to delete 3 Vigor from the team. And then Clementine is going to charge a Vigor at the beginning of her turn. So now we've got 3, right? So if I want to heal, I can just double click the skill, but I can see it's going to charge me 2. And then at the beginning of Gwen's turn, she's going to get an extra one. So now I can't use her A3 because I don't have a 3 Vigor, right? So if I use her A2, that's going to deplete all of my Vigor. Let's say I don't want to do that. Maybe I want Tristan to be able to use his A3. So I'll A1 with her, I'll charge a Vigor, and then Tristan will get an extra one at the end of his turn so that he can still A3 and Kay can still A2. See what I'm saying? So as you play, pay attention to this, get familiar with what your champs are doing and what it costs for them to do those things, and you'll be much more effective in battles, okay? Also, up here, if you go settings, you can go skill order settings and kind of set the AI to behave a certain way. So I have it set where I don't want any of these 3 champs using their A3s on auto. I want her to prioritize her heal, which means if she has the available Vigor, she will heal every time she gets a turn. If Guinevere has the available Vigor, she will use her A2 every time she gets a turn. If she doesn't, she'll A1. Kay will do whatever she can afford on her turn, and that's the way that I've set it up and the way that it works for me. So play around with this a little bit as well. If you want someone to only A1 and charge their Vigor, just have them like that. And then they won't use their A2 and A3, they'll just use the A1 to charge Vigor, okay? So you can play around with that and find stuff that works for you. So that's just some quick notes about battling. Again, you'll dig in and learn mechanics and all that stuff for the bosses, but I want to make sure you understood the Vigor system and turn order and all that good stuff. And then of course, if we cancel the fight and back out, you will see we still have 232 energy. So there is no punishment for failing a stage, minus the time that you spent trying to do it and perhaps the frustration of failing a stage you're trying to clear. So that's it for that. The next thing we would talk about in this video would be gear. Putting equipment on your champions. Now, I've done an in-depth gear guide, so instead of going into gear in this video, I'm going to card to it up there, and it will also be linked down below. If you want to learn about the gearing in this game, just go watch that video. I don't see a reason to fill this video up with 20 minutes of me talking about gear when I've already done that. So cue that video up for after this one if you want to learn about gear, but we're going to skip that for this video and move right along to the Shard Shop. Now, the way that you get to the Shard Shop is you come to Lake Avalon, and then down here, you click this little icon under me, right here. Okay, that's the icon to get to the Shard Shop. From here, you can obtain memory stones for champs. A memory stone is in essence a copy of a champ. So if I bought this, I don't have ban. I would get ban. I would get ban added to my roster. If I bought this, I would just get a dupe for Anguish to put toward his chivalry, okay? So memory stones are just copies of a champion. That's the heroes tab. It's a good idea to check this. As you can see, it refreshes periodically, right? There's a similar system for relics, right? We talked about relics being the weapons for each champ. They give them certain sets of skills. This is also a good idea to come in and check on periodically, because this is how you're going to obtain some of them. Rather than waiting to pull them from summons, this is going to be the way that you're going to deliberately try to come in here and look for what it is you need for any given champion. For example, Rosier, I don't know how you say her name. Rosier? Her flame relic is really good. I already come in here and grabbed it. I got lucky and got another copy of it, I guess. But I've already bought her flame relic from in here. So rather than having to wait to pull it, I just came in here and got it. The way that you get currency for this is in the exchange shards tab. Now, early on, I would recommend that on the champs tab here, you be very careful about exchanging champ shards, right? There are some uncommons that are going to be very useful for you. For example, like Jarrett. It would be a shame for you to come in here and just get rid of everything that you have because they're uncommon, and then realize that you need to develop one of these champs. You know, if I came in here and sold all of his frags, and then I've got 10 of them, I'm missing out on 3 levels of chivalry like that. You know what I mean? So I would be very careful about exchanging champ frags until you're a little bit later in the game, and you know for sure who you want to invest in and who you don't. However, the relic tab, it's unfortunate that I don't have more relics here. So that I can show you this. I stay on top of it pretty good. But if you come down here in the relics tab and click select all and check this box and click OK, it will put all of the relics over on the left that you don't need anymore. So like, I already have Kay's storm relic, okay? Right? I'm using her storm relic. I clicked it. Any copies that I get now of her storm relic don't do me any good. There is no dupe system for relics in that way. So if I do a 10 pop of storm relics and the summons, so here you can summon relics, and I get another copy of her storm relic, I don't need it. So I can come in here and I would go over to the relics tab, I'd click select all and OK, and it would move her storm relic over into where I would exchange it. This you can always do safely, even if you haven't claimed it yet. For example, this is one I haven't claimed, right? This guy, who is this? This is Andres. So let's go look at him real quick. I'm assuming I have a copy of him. Yes. So this is the guy that I have the flame relic for. He came with an ice relic default. Here I have his flame relic. Even though I haven't claimed it, it still wouldn't sell it, right? So you can do that safely, and it'll never get rid of anything you need. Again, on the champ tab, it'll do it. There's an auto thing for the champ tab, and it's filtering them somehow, but I don't really know how it's making the decisions it's making. Because like this guy, for example, I have 6-starred. I could use more copies of him. You see, I only have him at 1 chivalry. I don't know why it thinks it's okay to sell that one, but it's not selling my Jarrett copies. I don't know how it's filtering them, so I would be very careful about doing that in here. But on the relic tab, you're good to go, okay? And it's important that you do that because this is going to be very important for you. You see the legendary ones are very, very expensive, but you can come in here and get some really quality rare ones for fairly cheap. I think I've bought 2 from here already, and I still have 2,700, so I can almost afford another rare one. You know what I mean? It's not really that bad. So that's something that's very important to be aware of in this game. You are definitely going to want to utilize that as you progress. Next thing we need to talk about is getting into a clan. You need to get into an active clan as soon as you can. Being in a clan is pretty important in this game for a number of reasons, all right? Here you've got your check-in. Now you can see if we hit 25 check-ins every day, we get a free special summon ticket. That's 3 10 pops a month if everybody in your clan is active and checking in every day. Now, we are having an issue getting our 25th check-in every day, so I think someone's going to have to go. But that's going to be part of this game. It's going to be pretty strict in this game because people that aren't checking in are costing the rest of their clan mates. Like that one person that didn't log in cost 24 of us a special summon ticket. which is an ancient shard if you're coming from raid. Okay, so that's pretty valuable, right? So clans are probably going to be pretty strict about checking in every day. We are one of them. If you miss a day and don't tell us you were going to miss a day, you might be out of here. I got to figure out who didn't log in. There's someone who has done this to us like 4 times now. See, Vincent's on 2 days. Vincent's got to go. Sorry, you got to go, Vincent. You can't be on 2 days in this game. So we're gonna have to get another member. We got a list in the Discord, so we'll get somebody filled in. But yeah, we've missed out on a few of these because we keep having members not be active. So find yourself an active clan and get in. Get your free special summon ticket every day. Also, there are like clan missions, solo missions, group missions. There's a clan raid. There's a clan shop. There's a whole infrastructure in here to be aware of and engage with. So as soon as you unlock clans, I would recommend looking for a clan. Probably a good idea to join a Discord server. It doesn't have to be mine. I have a pretty active King Arthur section, but I'm sure Stu has a section. I'm sure Ivy or Susie has a section. I'm sure that the content creator is going to have sections, and that's probably a good way to find a good, active, plugged-in community rather than just hopping into a random clan, which could be very hit or miss. And the quicker you get into an active clan, the quicker you'll start to benefit very heavily from it, okay? So get into an active clan as soon as you possibly can. In conjunction with what I said about your clan missions, doing your solo missions every day, making sure your clan is getting their group missions done, you also want to make sure you do your daily missions, which is your power-up guide down here. You'll see you have daily, weekly, and monthly quests to come in and do. Make sure you're doing these. Again, it's another special summon ticket every day. So now we're talking 6-10 pops a month just by being in an active clan and doing your daily missions every day. That's a lot of summons. I don't know of many games that are giving you 60 summons a month. 60 quality summons a month, basically just for showing up. All you got to do for the clan one is check in. All you got to do here is do 9 of your dailies. There are way more than 9 dailies. It should be very easy to come in here and finish your dailies. So make sure you're paying attention to those, as well as your weekly and monthly. Okay, that's it's a great way to really expand the roster. And now's a good time to expand the roster while the game is new. You really have odds of getting close to everybody in the game. There's quite a few people in my Discord that have every legendary in the game except the 2 you can only get from Arena. So it's a good time. It's a good time to be getting your hands on summons. All right. So moving on from there, let's talk about the story mode. Now, adventure is kind of like the story of the game. It plays a little bit more like an RPG. You'll go in, you can WASD move around if you're playing on PC, but you actually control your character, run around a map, explore, look for treasure, talk to people, get into fights, and you'll go through and try to clear as you go. There's usually one fight in every section that you have to have specific champs built for, and if you don't, you're going to struggle, which is why a lot of mine are at 97, 97, 96, because there's that one fight I'm unable to beat right now. But this is, you'll want to come in and progress this because as you can see, the rewards are pretty good, right? Lots of memory stone tokens, which are going to be very, very useful for getting chivalry on your champs. Like Arthur at Chivalry 8 is insane, apparently. Kay at Chivalry 8 is really good. So you want to come and get these as you can. I need to jump back in actually and see if I can knock those out. This is your more traditional campaign. This will be what's more familiar to you if you're coming from something like Raid or Summoner's War, where there's this campaign of different chapters and different stages in each one with criteria to 3-star the campaign. It'll also be where you come back and farm your fairy stones and different resources like that. So the thing to note about the campaign, the thing that I really want to make sure that I mention here, is once you 3-star a stage, then you can like kind of auto farm it, right? If you click the stars, you have your clear conditions, right? You don't have to do all of these at once, and that's very important to be aware of. You can get each of these stars individually, and it'll still count when you're done as having 3-starred it. So like, for example, this one. I've defeated all enemies, obviously, and I've done it where I've won in 20 turns and all my heroes survived. I have not done it with 2 support heroes. So if I go in and clear it now, and it takes me 80 turns, but I have 2 support heroes on the team, I'll get this last star, and then it will count as me having 3 started. So don't drive yourself crazy thinking you got to get all these stars in one go, all right? You can get them individually as you're able to get them, and I think that's a pretty nice system. And then again, once it's 3 starred, you can go back and kind of auto farm it. So that's something that's very important to be aware of. As you progress into the game a little bit, you'll unlock the city building aspect. There are different things in this game that you can level up, and it actually matters a lot. So you want to stay on top of upgrading your castle as best you can. Mine is in the midst of an upgrade right now, so I can't go in and show you. Let me see if I can do it here. Right, so this is what the upgrade screen will look like. It's going to tell you how many resources you have versus what you need. And then there's also usually a requirement to upgrade any given building. If you click this arrow, it'll tell you, well, it'll usually tell you, oh wait, I think for here it's reach castle 11. Yeah. So I'm in the process of trying to make that happen now. If we come over to my forge, then it's reach castle 11, but that's O of 1. I'm trying to find one that's got other stipulations so that you can see it's not always as simple as just upgrading your castle. But it's not really wanting to let me do that. Reach castle level 10. Sometimes it'll be like clear a certain stage in campaign or beat this dungeon a certain amount of times. You know, it's not always just about the castle upgrade, but castle upgrade needs to be the priority because it is it's gonna be what opens up everything else. Castle upgrade, and then I think steel mill and lumberyard are like very important. Market and forge are also very important because as you upgrade them, you get better stuff in them. And I think maybe that's a good time to transition over into talking about the market and the forge. You do want to make sure that you're coming in here every day, seeing what's in here, seeing what you need, and using your 1 free refresh. Now, there will probably be differing opinions on what's worth buying in here and what's not worth buying. I tend to always buy the top 2 spots that are discounted. So I grab these no matter what they are every day because the discounts are usually pretty extreme. From there, I'm at a point where I don't really need legendary mana orbs anymore, so I don't grab them. I don't really bother with these, although it might not be a bad idea. These are easy enough to farm that I don't think they're worth gold. These talismans are kind of hard to get your hands on. I'll buy them. The rare relic breath, debatable. I'll probably go ahead and buy them. Star seeds, uncommon, are pretty easy. White polishing powder is pretty easy. Uncommon tome of the storm, I'm going to go ahead and grab. So again, it's hard for me to tell you like this is worth it, this is not. Generally speaking, I think fairy stones are easy enough to obtain that I wouldn't bother buying them. The mana orbs, it'll just depend on how far you are in Pinveed. I'm far enough that legendary mana orbs are like, I've got 529 in my inventory right now. I don't really need a bunch, right? You can click it and see how many you have, and that can give you a gauge of like how easy they've been for you to obtain. And then when I bought everything I want, I hit my refresh. And I mean, even that, I'm probably not going to buy. I don't need it. I've got so many of those. You know what I mean? Uncommon Serpent Talisman, I'll buy. Rare Relic Breath, I'll buy. Rare Tome of Frost, I'll definitely buy because I can't even farm those yet. You'll get a feel for what's going on in here in your own account as you play the game a little bit. Very early on, if you've got the gold, it wouldn't be the end of the world if you just cleaned out the shop on the refresh as well. Just farm your Gorgos, get your gold back. You can probably use everything in there as a brand new player, and as you progress, you'll slow down a little bit on buying everything from it. Alternatively, there's another shop over here in the Forge where you can come in and purchase equipment. Again, you just kind of have to gauge how you're feeling about it. Anything 3-star can't be an interesting main stat. So your right side gear, very briefly, we'll talk about gear. Your necklace, earrings, and ring are the pieces of gear where you can have different main stats. 3-star rings can have attack speed as a main stat, but other than that, they're always going to be flat stats. So 4 stars where it starts getting possible to get decent, usable main stats. So again, you just kind of have to think about if you need any holes filled in your gear. Maybe someone has one piece of a defense set and you need that second piece. You could come in here and try to grab this ring and see if you get a good roll. This is a good idea to check this every day. Okay, this is, I'm gonna buy that. This is a good thing to check every day. On top of that, in the equipment crafting, this is where you'll get a lot of your gear. Gear is very hard to come by in this game, so you will be utilizing this quite a bit. It'll start you off on 3 and 4 star. This tells you the resources that you need, depending on what you're crafting. If you're crafting armor, helmet, or boots, it's one set of materials. And then if you go necklace, ring, or earrings, this middle piece changes here. And then you can craft belts and stuff, so be aware of that. You can come in here and craft a belt early on if you've awakened your champs and unlocked the spot for it, all right? So the only thing I want to note about this is these 2 resources right here do not get used automatically. It looks like they do. It looks like they're part of the 5 things that you need. But if I craft a piece of gear right now, it only uses these 3. You see these are kind of lit up and there's that blue beam going. It's kind of subtle if you don't know to look for it. And it'll only use these if I click them and get them highlighted and get that blue beam going to the center. These are modifiers, so they increase the likelihood that you'll get a higher star rating and a higher rarity. I would recommend sitting on these. You're going to accumulate these as you play. I would recommend hanging on to these until at least you get to the point where you're crafting 4 and 5 star gear. But I'm probably going to try to mostly sit on mine until I'm crafting 5 and 6 star gear, which will be quite a bit later in the game for me. But I would recommend not using them on your 3 and 4 star gear. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. And I haven't used a ton of these, and I've only got 18. So while they do kind of come in decently, they're not just going to be raining those resources on you, and I'd be very careful about wasting them on 3 and 4 star gear. So as far as change stats go, there's not a ton to talk about. You just come in here and you can use this resource to randomly change a substat on a piece of gear. Again, something I think that you'll be doing a bit later in the game. It's not something I would really worry about right now, okay? Let's move on to summons. On the summon tab, you've got your raid up summon, which will be generally where the banner champ is. You've got your normal summons, which are common up to rare. The best this could be is a rare champ. And you'll, occasionally see a rare from there. Special summon, again, is kind of like your ancient shard. You can get uncommon up to legendary. And then you have your relic summons, which we've talked about. Those are your character's weapons and where their skills come from. I would recommend on your relic summons not summoning unless you have 10. And the reason for that is it can be uncommon up to legendary. If you do a 10 pop, you're guaranteed a rare relic. So I see no reason not to guarantee yourself a rare relic. It could be very possible, if you do them one at a time, to go well beyond 10 without a rare. You know what I mean? So I would recommend only doing relics in 10 pops, which might drive you a little bit crazy, but that's kind of how I approach it. With special summons, again, you're at least guaranteed a rare if you do a 10 pop. I don't think that applies on normal summons. So I tend to try to wait and do all my summons in 10 pops. Just out of a habit, just so that I'm at least getting a rare every time I come in here. Again, if you're someone that just wants to pop stuff as you get it, go for it, but that would be my tip for you in here. There is pity, trackable pity over here. So if I don't get a legendary in my next 37 special ticket summons, my 38th one will be a legendary, right? There's also trackable pity on all your relics and on your banners as well. And it is my understanding that pity does not transfer over to the next banner. So if you've got, 3 left on here and a new banner starts, your pity's going to reset. I believe that's what I've been told. I have not done a lot of summoning on this tab because I'm free to play and I don't get a ton of them, but there are a few to be had. So that's stuff to be aware of in the summoning tab. Let's see what else we got. Spending gems. Let's talk about spending gems. Gems is kind of the premium currency in the game. So the main thing I would recommend that you do with your gems every single day is if you click this little plus sign by your energy, it'll take you straight to the shop. And here you can buy 100 energy or 50 gems. You can do this twice a day. I don't know why it says daily 1 of 1. I don't know what that means, but if I buy it, here's my 100 energy, and I can do it one more time. Then it's going to go up. So it's going to go up. It's going to get more expensive as you do it. You can decide what you're willing to part with as far as gems go. I think the two purchases for 50 gems is absolutely undisputably worth it. Sometimes I do the 100 gem purchases, sometimes I don't. It depends on how adamant I am about accomplishing whatever it is I'm trying to accomplish for the day, okay? Also, be sure you come in here, get your free gems every day. Beyond that, there will be a battle pass in the game. There is a Knight's Pass, which is the free path. There is the Champion Pass, which is the paid path. And then the Commander Pass, which this time it costs 2,000 gems. I don't know what it'll cost, if it'll be that every time. This time it costs 2,000. And it is worth it. Excuse me. You can go through and see everything we get here, right? We get tons of resources, energy. There's quite a few summons in here. It is, I would say, more than worth the 2,000 gems. I know it kind of hurts to just drop 2,000 gems, but gems have been pretty easy to come by, especially early in the game when you're progressing. Again, I am 100% free to play. I spend gems pretty frequently, and I'm still at 4,600, so I think it's well worth the 2,000. And when you finish it, you do get a 10 pop on the Raid Up banner, which gives you an opportunity to pull the Raid Up champ, which is pretty cool. And then you've got your missions tab in here and stuff. So, wait, what? Oh, I keep clicking purchase levels when I'm trying to click claim all. That's what's happening. So yeah, I would say the Commander Pass is well worth the 2,000 gems for the Battle Pass cycle. Beyond that, the only other thing I really spend my gems on right now is occasionally. I don't think I'm going to have any in here right now. Sometimes when you're playing, a pack will pop up that costs gems, and it will offer you summons, it will offer you gear, it will offer you some random array of resources in the game. And depending on what pops up, I'll buy it. There's one pack that pops up for me frequently that offers 10 pieces of 4 to 6 star gear and usually one other thing. And I tend to buy that just because gear has been so hard to come by. I figure an opportunity to roll 10 pieces of gear very quickly that could be 6 star tends to feel like it's worth it to me. So that's stuff to be aware of as far as what to spend your gems on and stuff in the shop. Again, be sure you come in and get your free package from here every day. And then there was one more thing in here that I wanted to talk about. In the popular tab, these are worth being aware of. I have not purchased them yet, but you've got some, your mythic mana orbs, some summons, some different resources in here for varying amounts of gems. I haven't purchased them yet, not necessarily even because I don't think it's worth it. I just haven't done it yet, but they are there, okay? Just be aware that they're there. Be mindful of your events. This right here is your events tab. And in my experience in the game so far, events are all fantastic. They are all very much worth participating in and being mindful of. We just had one end, I wish it was still here. We had an arena event where just for participating in arena, every certain amount of battles you did, you got 50 energy. It just rained energy on you for participating in arena. Here we had an event for defeating monsters and boss enemies. Here we've got an event based around Frozen Plains. Here we've got one based around Plain of Beast. And you get pretty good rewards for clearing each floor, as well as pretty good rewards for the amount of times that you farmed it. I really wish I could get a stage 10 clear so I could pick these up. I've got 6 days left to do it, so maybe we'll be able to make it happen. But be mindful of the events in the game and try to focus them because, again, in my experience, they've been very well designed in the sense that they're not super hard to grind, and the reward for them is very good. Very strong rewards for the events in the game so far, so be mindful of those. One last tip I think I'll give you is down here in the arena, make sure you're coming in here and farming your arena. Even if you don't like PvP, a lot of the time you'll get kind of easy farms like this. This is the power of the team, and this is the team. You'll kind of get a vibe for who you can beat and who you can't. And I would make it a point to try to get in here. There is no limit to how much arena you can do in a day. It is really limited by how strong you are. Eventually you might climb to a point where the enemies are too strong for you to farm. But if you have the time, maybe you're out of energy and you don't want to spend any more gems on energy. Maybe you're as far as you can get in adventure mode. Maybe you've done everything you can do in the game. Just passively farm arena on your second monitor or something if you're playing on PC. If you're on mobile, just, you know, dedicate some time to it. It's worth coming in here and farming. There is an arena shop with some pretty good stuff in it, and there are 2 legendaries in here. You've got Sergius and Florentius, I think is his name. Yeah. And it's my understanding you can only get these guys from the shop. I don't think they can be summoned. So I can now afford one of them. I'm probably going to buy Sergius. I need to think about it a little bit longer. But they both seem very good. They both seem like very, very good additions to the roster. Alternatively, if you're not interested in the legendaries, you can come in here and grab 2 copies of Arthur weekly, which is basically 1 chivalry per week on Arthur. You can come in here and grab other resources, special summon tickets, so on. There's quite a bit of good stuff in here, and you get points based on your rank every day, as well as your rank when the season ends, right? So we've got a season going on right now for this week, which again, I'm blocking, but you've got your daily season, and then your weekly season, and you get points for all of it. So the points come pretty quickly, right? I've already got 9,000 points in here, and I think we're on we just hit day 21. So like, it's not a crazy grind, right? And I haven't really been on top of it. If I was really trying to rank high every day, I think we would have gotten there a lot quicker. So be aware of arena and make sure that you're checking it out, okay? I think that's pretty much all the tips I have for you in this video. The game is going to show you a couple of other things that I didn't really talk about, but I think it's going to explain it fairly effectively. And I really just wanted to cover anything where there could be kind of a gray area or something that you could be uncertain about. So I do hope this was helpful. Welcome to the game. I hope you enjoy it. I do have a Discord. If you would like to click the link below and hop in there, I've got a very active King Arthur community, so you can jump in there and get plugged in, get some advice, share your luck. We've got a show off screen where you can show off good summons and strong chant builds. And that is where I recruit for the clan when we need members. So if you're interested in being in my clan specifically, my Discord would be the place to be for that. But that's going to do it for this video. I'm going to get out of here. I do hope it was helpful. If you have any additional tips that you would like to drop for new players, please drop them in the comments down below. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you in the next one.